Hello everyone and welcome to Katharine's Q&A. I think it's episode 32 or something like that. Today we're actually going to talk about some other essentials authors should know about, be aware about, and utilize. Last week, I think it was last week, we talked about ISBNs. What are they? Why are they important? How do you get them, etc., so on. Well, ISBN, again, just for a brief reminder, is the International Standard Book Numbering System, essentially. It is a way that you can be publicly searched on all different platforms worldwide. It is very important to know that every book has an ISBN. You either are assigned them through your publisher or you can purchase them yourselves. Again, have a little more rights, but that was last week's topic. Today, we're going to flip the script and talk a little bit about some other things, especially ASIN. So what is ASIN? That is another numbering system. It's actually the Amazon Standard Identification Number that they assign to products. And so every product on Amazon has an ASIN. If you look at your ebook online on your books platform, and you can scroll down to some information, especially in the ebook form, you will see the ASIN number there for your book. And this is a 10-digit code of numbers and letters. And again, it's a way for you to be found pretty easily on Amazon's book catalog, as well as some other larger book catalogs. And I think Goodreads uses it as well as an option to search for a book. But you don't really assign them, you get them. It is important to be aware, especially when it comes to things like ebooks, where you see the ASIN on the product page, to still have an ISBN, because if you want to go wide, again, sell to other platforms, you need that ISBN in order to sell your ebook on some of these other platforms. And even if you're like me, who's exclusive on Amazon, having that ISBN associated and linked online with your book just gives you that extra rights over your book. But that's neither here nor there at this point. I just wanted to let you know ISBN and ASIN are similar, but they do have some differences. Now, there are a couple other numbering systems that are associated with sales. And don't panic. What I'm about to talk to you a little bit about for the next couple minutes are not necessarily important for authors, but be aware that they do exist. And don't panic if you have no clue why your book doesn't have one. One of them are your UPCs. And UPC is a 12-digit code. It's international related, I think, but it's for retail purposes. So not necessarily for books, don't have to worry right there. There is also something called EAN, and that is your European article numbers. And those, again, are another 12-digit code. And like ISBN, you'll find them around those barcodes on the back of products. But again, we're talking products, not literature in particular. And they're very similar to UPCs, something that you really don't need to worry about as authors. Just be aware that they are there. They look similar, but they're not focused on book sales. Okay, so the other thing I want to talk to you today is actually about copyright. And what is a copyright? It's a form of intellectual property law. It actually protects original works, including, but not limited to, books, poetry, movies, songs. A lot of these creative aspects that people put out there and hopefully sell and make money off of. Copyright helps protect them in case someone else tries to steal your idea. That's the point. So when you write, be aware, here's the kicker, once you complete your book, it is automatically copywritten. It confuses a lot of people because there is a registration process for copyrights, and some people misunderstand that when you create this work, it is already copywritten by law. The registration process is just a way to prove it. If someone comes up and accuses you of stealing their idea, or vice versa, where you feel strongly that someone else has ripped you off and taken your idea and is making money off all the hard work you put in, you can take someone to court or be taken to court, and having the copyright registered for your work is a way to prove at this time this year, I wrote this book. I made this piece of work and it is mine. It is genuine, it is true, and it's just a way to prove when that happened legally. Now, there are a couple other perks of registering your work, and again, this all pertains to the legal issues if they ever do arise. One of which is, if you have your copyright registered, you are now eligible for statutory damages and attorney fees in a successful litigation. What does that mean? That means if you take someone to court or are taken to court for an issue of stealing someone else's idea or having your idea stolen, and you win this case, you are eligible that the other person then pays all the fees you incurred, or at least in part some of the fees you incurred during this time, because anything with dealing with taking people to law is expensive. So having some of that covered for you and paid for in the end is nice. And having your work registered through copyright makes you eligible for someone else potentially to pay for the damages and the expenses it was for you to go through this process. And the other thing is, it makes for the litigation, if you have your copyright within 5 years of publication, you are eligible for prima facie, if I pronounce that right. I am not a law person, but this is just important as an author to understand, and that means your work is accepted as true, honest, and again, it means if anybody calls into question, did you write your own work? Were you the first one to do this idea? Are you probably the creator and someone else is taking advantage of you? It's just another way to prove your work is yours. You did it when you said you did it. And it goes back to, I guess, the saying, you always want to hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. So having your copyright registered, because you already have your copyright, but having it registered just means it's easier to legally prove you wrote it first. Now, when should you submit to your copyright? And I guess that can depend, again, within 5 years of publication, but I'm a person, you can have your first draft go through copyright. Just understand that if you're a person who will revamp huge sections of your book, rewrite, add in new plot lines, take out old plot lines, recreate characters, then at the time of publication, you might have to go through copyright again, because that is pretty much a new work. But if you're someone who just does minor tweaks along the way, you can submit that book manuscript for copyright at that time and get it registered. I personally will go through a number of edits, but before I show my manuscript to anybody, be it beta readers, editors, alpha readers, any of those kind of fun stuff, ARCs, for me, I actually want to make sure I have that copyright. I trust everybody I work with, but again, this is just in the worst case scenario. This is my proof that I wrote it first and the ideas were mine. Okay, so those are some, again, publishing essentials, author's essentials today, and I will go through probably at a later point on the step-by-step process of registering a book for copyright, because it is confusing. I wish someone walked me through it the first time, and it is important to know if you are interested in doing it, but okay, so that was my spiel this week, and if you have any questions for me, let me know on social media or post them in the comments below, and until next time, Skål!